All right, here with Australian boxing legend, former world champ Billy Dibb. Billy, big news past few days. Tszyu's lost to Sebastian Fundora, mate. Your initial thoughts?
Mate, you know what? My initial thoughts is Tszyu is a warrior, you know what I mean? But obviously, it just wasn't his night, you know what I mean? Wasn't his night, and I don't think that he turned up with a good game plan. And I think a lot of people make the mistake and they think that Tim took the fight against Fundora in the first fight on short notice, but Fundora also did that too. You know what I mean? So yes, they both took the fight on short notice, on 10 days short notice. And so, you got to remember that Fundora's had all of this time now to prepare for Tszyu. So he was always going to come in a lot better. And being a champion and being in that mental space of I'm a champion now, and he's defended his crown, it's hard to beat somebody that's at top like that, And so, the fact that he's had time to prepare for Tim properly, I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't know I don't know what people were thinking in regards to, this was going to be an easy fight. It was never going to be an easy fight.
Yeah, you were one of the only guys out there sort of saying that, this is going to be a tough fight for Tim, and, Fundora is a massive challenge for Tim. What did you sort of see from that first fight that sort of made you think that way?
Well, I was just going off the fact that Fundora took the fight on short notice. You know what I mean? He was given the opportunity on short notice, just as Tim was. So, I don't think the best Fundora turned up in that first fight. But I believe in the rematch, you know what I mean? Like, I knew he was always going to be a lot better. And I spoke to Tim, on a few occasions just to see where his mental space was at, because let's be honest, after that backroom loss, you know what I mean, that was a devastating loss. You know what I mean? Tszyu's gone from being an absolute icon in Australian boxing to basically not knowing where he's going at the moment. And I feel really bad for him, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? I've been where he's at. I know the feeling of being at top and then losing it all. And, it's a hard pill to swallow, man. I could only imagine what he's dealing with right now.
The fight on the weekend, were you surprised? Fundora sort of come out and put Tim on the back foot in the first round. Did that surprise you? And Tim getting caught in the first round as well?
I'm going to be honest with you. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that the minute that Tim got touched on the chin, he was going to hit the canvas. I knew it, and I'd been saying it to a lot of people. I spoke to, I was like, you can't come off a Fundora loss, a background loss, and then going into a Joey Spence fight and say I'm back. Mate, Joey Spence was a like a hand-picked opponent. They picked him out. He was supposed to do exactly what he was supposed to do. He turned up and he took an ass whooping against Tim, and that gave Tim the ability to say that I'm back, I'm on top again, I'm ready to reclaim my crown. But really what he really needed was a few easier fights just to get back in the rhythm again. You know what I mean? Because coming off devastating back-to-back losses like that, it ain't easy. I know. I've been there. You know what I mean? I'm not talking out of my backside. I know, because I've been there myself. So, you need a bit of time to be able to find yourself again. And, Tim was, he just didn't have the same sharpness that he usually has. His timing was a little bit out. You know what I mean? I just felt like he maybe needed maybe one or two of them Joey Spence fights to get back to an opportunity to fight Fundora. I don't think going into a world title fight right away was the right idea. But look, the kid dared to be great. You know what I mean? And you can't knock him for that, you know what I mean? And these opportunities don't come knocking all the time. So you got to take what you get.
What did you make of the tactics? Like, what should have Tim done on the weekend in there?
I don't know much about, in regards to Tim's style and stuff like that. And all I know is that when I fought somebody as tall as Fundora, who was Zelani Morali, I pressed him. I stayed close to him. In the amateurs, I had a nemesis. His name was James Ronaldson, and he was extremely tall, and I was a lot shorter than him. And the only way that I could beat him was by staying on his chest and not giving him any room. I really believe that Tim should have got right up on his chest, hitting to the body, not jab and pull out or jab the body, then pull out. You know what I mean? Every time he pulled out, Fundora made him pay. You know what I mean? So I would have kept the fight in close quarters. You know what I mean? And just work the body. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen Tim hit the body in a long time, man, and he's a devastating body puncher. But I really don't. I really believe that. I'm not sure about where Tim goes from here. I'm not sure whether he has the desire to continuously move forward, because I was a little bit confused the other day. I wasn't sure whether he threw the towel in or his corner threw the towel in. I was very, very confused. But then there's been a lot of reports saying that Tim was the one that didn't want to fight on. And, when a fighter, basically says that I've had enough, that's a really, really scary sign. You know what I mean? Like, as you saw, Roberto Duran's whole career's been tainted by the NOMAS. So for Tim to just be able to say, yeah, I'm done, I know he gave it a great effort, but when you're talking about, I'm going to be champion, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to turn up and do that, then you got to get stretched. You know what I mean? You got to be willing to get stretched. Either you're going to stretch him or he's going to stretch you, That's the mentality of boxing. But, obviously sometimes when you get very comfortable and you've earned a lot of money, maybe you don't have that desire anymore.
Mm. A lot of criticism about Tim Tszyu's team, his management, his promoters. Do you sort of, agree with any of that criticism? What are your thoughts on that?
I've always really liked Igor, to be honest with you. Igor's been such a good friend of mine for many, many years. As he was an amateur coach in the amateurs, he used to coach the amateur team, and I really loved working with Igor. I don't know about the management side of things. I don't know what, like, as a manager, I mean, like Glenn Jennings could have done maybe a little bit of a better job, but I'm not knocking him as well, because it's not easy. I mean, it's like, as I said to you, it's very hard to turn down these opportunities. But as a manager, you got to be able to tell your charge that, look, we're going to take a back step right now for a second. We're going to take a minute. We're going to reshuffle everything up and see how we go. You know what I mean? But to just throw him in fight after fight after fight like the way they did, you know what I mean? Like I thought it was a road rage moment when they put him in the first Fundora fight. You're preparing for a guy called Keith Thurman, who is an orthodox fighter, who's a lot shorter. Then all of a sudden you're in against Fundora, who's a giant and a southpaw, and you've had 10 days to prepare. To me, that's a road rage moment. You know what I mean? That's road raging your way through a decision. And then on top of that, Tim gets cut, and then they send him out round after round when they could have pulled him out right away and he'd still remain champion. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, after that was a devastating loss. You know what I mean? And he lost a lot of blood, and it was a very, very it was a treacherous fight. And then you throw him in against Bakram, who is an absolute destroyer, and you show Bakram no respect, and you think you're gonna walk through him. Bakram was like, man, this is perfect for me. If you think you're gonna do that to me, let's go mono a mono, and I'll show you what I can do. These people come from the gutter. These people are street people. They got nothing but fighting. You know what I mean? This is their way of livelihood. This is the way they survive. So, I just feel like Tim's team could have made better decisions. You know what I mean? And they could have protected him a lot more than they did. But at the end of the day, that's the team that he's chosen. And Tim is a grown man. He's 30 years of age. He can make a decision whether he wants to be with somebody or wants to be without them.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess the big
move on.
question is,
It's up to him. A lot of people go ahead.
can Tim Tszyu bounce back, do you think? And if he does he need to make change to his style as well? He's sort of morphed into this sort of punching style over the last few fights for some reason as well.
Honestly, I believe that if Tim makes changes, he could be an opportunity to become a champion again. No doubt about it. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking. And I'm not sure that he would be thinking the same, but what I'm thinking is, we all seen Hamza Shiraz recently linked up with Andy Lee. I just feel like he needs a new, fresh set of eyes, maybe a new direction. You know, maybe an Andy Lee is a good trainer. You know what I mean? Maybe even Roberto Garcia. You know what I mean? Robert Garcia is a good trainer. Just to change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying anything against Igor. Igor's done an amazing job. You know what I mean? And obviously, they were having great success in Australia. Anytime they've ventured overseas, I don't know if you've seen what I've seen, but there's always been mishaps. Like the Goucher fight, Tim gets dropped. You know what I mean? Then he's got the fight against Fundora. Then he's got the fight against Murzalayev. Then he's got the fight against Fundora again. You know what I mean? It's like when Tim's fighting on his own soil in Australia, he's succeeding easily. You know what I mean? Because he's got the right opposition in front of him. But then when you go overseas, there's a whole nother ball game, man. And so I just feel like if Tim definitely wants to get back to that elite level, he definitely needs to rethink what he wants to do moving forward. But I would definitely say that maybe a new, fresh pair of eyes is a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, but not here. There's no one here in Australia that can help Tim progress. I'm talking not even Jeff Fennick. No, nobody can help him progress because he's outgrown Australia. You know what I mean? He needs now the likes of Andy Lee. He needs the likes of somebody like Robert Garcia. You know what I mean? He needs to be around that. He needs to get away from his surroundings, and he needs to put himself into a camp where he can excel. That's my thoughts.
Nice. I know you're close with Badu Jack. Cruiserweight division, Jai Petaya. Zoto Ramirez is out with the shoulder injury now. What are your thoughts on Jai Petaya's path moving forward now?
I really like Jai, man. Jai's an amazing talent, and I feel that he is pound for pound the number one fighter in Australia at the moment by far. You know what I mean? He's a very, very talented young man, and he's driven and he's hungry. And I feel that his reign's going to last a very, very long time. But I know for a fact that Badu Jack is now tied up into his mandatory, so he's got a mandatory fight that he has to deal with. You know, and Badu is like sort of on the later stages of his career. You know what I mean? He's coming towards the end now. He's getting a bit old. But Badu's a great friend of mine as well. So, you know, I wouldn't advise Badu to fight Jai. But you know, if he does, I mean, I'm always going to be, you know, always going to be supportive of both of them. You know what I mean? But I feel that the fight for Jai Petaya, the fight that we all want to see, is definitely Zoto Ramirez, and I feel that Oscar De La Hoya would definitely like to make that fight happen. You know what I mean? So I just wait. You just got to wait and see what happens with Zoto and his injury, and then hopefully once he gets better, and then they can make that fight happen. But for now, it's very, very hard because Jai's not getting. Nobody really wants to fight Jai. That's the truth.
Just last one, mate. I know you've got a couple of fighters as well. Any fights you want to see your guys in moving forward?
Mate, absolutely. I've been saying it for a long, long time, and I definitely would love to see Munir Fateh in with Nikita Tszyu. You know, I'd love to see him fight Nikita. I'd love to see him fight Michael Zarafa. You know, they can think what they want, but I'm telling you right now, my kid Munir Fateh would knock them both spark out. No doubt in my mind. At junior middleweight, he would be knocking them both out, no problem. And I know that obviously you know, Nikita's a bit of a cash cow for No Limit at the moment, so that's a fight that probably not that I want to see. You know what I mean? And obviously now with Tim losing, I think that maybe Zarafa is maybe going to be next for Tim. So we'll just have to wait and see, you know what I mean? But I just definitely feel that Munir Fateh is a force to be reckoned with, and I believe that he has all of the ability and the skill set to be a world champion. No doubt about it.
Nice one, mate. Thanks so much. Always appreciate your time.
No worries, but thank you for having me on, man. God bless.